The genesis of genetic connection. The sun had barely risen over the city, but the auditorium of the International Genetic Research Conference was already buzzing with anticipation. Scientists, researchers, and enthusiasts from around the world had gathered to hear Dr. Emily Harper's keynote address. Renowned for her groundbreaking work in genomics, Dr. Harper was a charismatic speaker with a knack for making complex scientific concepts accessible to all. As the clock struck 9, the lights dimmed, and a hush fell over the audience. Dr. Harper stepped onto the stage, her presence commanding immediate attention. She began with a seemingly whimsical question: what do humans and bananas have in common? A ripple of laughter spread through the crowd, but Dr. Harper's expression remained serious. The answer, she continued, is that we share about 60% of our DNA. The audience's reaction shifted from amusement to astonishment. Murmurs filled the room as people exchanged curious glances. Dr. Harper allowed the surprise to settle before proceeding. I know this sounds incredible, but it's true. The fundamental building blocks of life are more shared than you might think. Dr. Harper began to outline the history of genetic research, starting with the seminal work of Gregor Mendel in the 19th century. She described how Mendel's experiments with pea plants laid the foundation for our understanding of heredity. Fast-forwarding to the mid-20th century, she recounted the discovery of the DNA double helix by James Watson and Francis Crick, a milestone that revolutionized the field of genetics. With the discovery of DNA structure, Dr. Harper explained, we gained a deeper understanding of how genetic information is stored and transmitted from one generation to the next. This paved the way for the sequencing of the human genome, completed in 2003, and subsequently, the genomes of many other organisms, including the banana. A slide showing the double helix of DNA appeared on the screen behind her. Dr. Harper elaborated on the structure, explaining how the 4 nucleotide bases, adenine, A, thymine, T, cytosine, C, and guanine, G, pair up to form the rungs of the DNA ladder. She pointed out that these bases are the same in all living organisms, whether in humans, bananas, or bacteria. Now, let's consider why this matters, Dr. Harper said, shifting to a more philosophical tone. The fact that we share a significant portion of our DNA with a banana highlights the deep evolutionary connections among all life on Earth. This shared genetic heritage is a testament to the common ancestry of all living beings. The next slide showed a timeline of life's evolution, starting from simple single-celled organisms billions of years ago to the complex life forms we see today. Dr. Harper traced the branches of the evolutionary tree, showing how different species diverged from common ancestors over time. The audience was captivated by the visual representation of life's interconnectedness. Evolution is not just a theory, Dr. Harper asserted. It is a process supported by overwhelming evidence from multiple scientific disciplines. By comparing genetic sequences, we can trace the evolutionary relationships between species and understand how diverse forms of life have emerged from common origins. Dr. Harper paused to let her words sink in. The audience was engrossed, many leaning forward in their seats. She then introduced the concept of conserved genes, genes that have remained largely unchanged throughout evolution. These genes, she explained, are involved in fundamental cellular processes such as DNA replication, transcription, and translation. The presence of these conserved genes in both humans and bananas underscores their shared genetic blueprint. Let me give you an example, Dr. Harper continued, her eyes scanning the audience. The gene for cytochrome C, a protein involved in cellular respiration, is remarkably similar in both humans and bananas. This protein plays a crucial role in the production of ATP, the energy currency of the cell. The fact that this gene has been conserved across such diverse species highlights its fundamental importance. As she spoke, a slide displaying the genetic sequences of the cytochrome C gene in various organisms appeared on the screen. The similarities were striking, even to those without a background in genetics. Dr. Harper's explanation brought the concept to life, making it clear how shared genetic sequences link humans and bananas in the tapestry of evolution. To wrap up her lecture, Dr. Harper touched on the practical implications of this genetic connection. She discussed how understanding the genetic similarities between different organisms can lead to advancements in medicine, agriculture, and biotechnology. For example, studying the genetic makeup of plants can help develop more resilient crops, while insights from animal genetics can inform medical research. In essence, Dr. Harper concluded, the shared DNA between humans and bananas is a reminder of the unity of life. It's a call to appreciate the diversity of life forms and to recognize our place within the broader web of life. Our genetic connections underscore the importance of preserving biodiversity and protecting our planet. The auditorium erupted in applause as Dr. Harper stepped back from the podium, a satisfied smile on her face. The audience had been enlightened, inspired, and perhaps a bit awed by the intricate connections that bind all living beings. Dr. Harper had succeeded in her mission, to reveal the profound genetic kinship that unites humans and bananas, and by extension, all life on Earth. The Blueprint of Life. Dr. Emily Harper's lecture on the genetic connection between humans and bananas left the audience buzzing with curiosity. The following morning, she continued her exploration of this fascinating topic, delving deeper into the molecular details of DNA. The auditorium was filled with eager faces, ready to embark on a journey into the very building blocks of life. Dr. Harper began with an overview of the cell, the fundamental unit of life. Every living organism, from the simplest bacterium to the most complex human, is composed of cells, she explained. Within each cell lies the DNA, a molecule that carries the instructions necessary for life. A slide showing a detailed diagram of a cell appeared on the screen, highlighting the nucleus, where DNA is stored in eukaryotic organisms like humans and bananas. Dr. Harper pointed out the double helix structure of DNA, emphasizing its role as the blueprint of life. She described how DNA is composed of two long strands forming a spiral, with the nucleotide bases, adenine, A, thymine, T, cytosine, C, and guanine, G, paired in the middle. These bases pair in a specific way, she noted. Adenine always pairs with thymine, and cytosine always pairs with guanine. This pairing is what allows DNA to replicate and pass on genetic information accurately from one generation to the next. To illustrate this, Dr. Harper presented a slide comparing the genomes of humans and bananas. Humans have about 3 billion base pairs in their DNA, while bananas have around 523 million. Despite the difference in size, the fundamental components are the same. Both genomes are written in the language of A, T, C, and G. She then introduced the concept of genes, the segments of DNA that code for proteins. Genes are the functional units of heredity. They provide the instructions for building and maintaining an organism. Humans have approximately 20,000–25,000 genes, while bananas have about 36,000. The higher number of genes in bananas can be attributed to their complex evolutionary history and the need for various functions in plant biology. Dr. Harper highlighted some of the genes shared by humans and bananas. Take, for instance, the genes involved in basic cellular functions like metabolism and cell division. These genes are remarkably similar in both species, underscoring the shared evolutionary heritage. A slide showing the gene sequences for these functions appeared, with color-coded regions indicating similarities and differences. The audience could see the striking resemblance between the sequences, emphasizing the commonalities in the blueprint of life. However, it's important to note that the similarities don't mean humans and bananas are alike in every way, Dr. Harper clarified. The majority of our DNA is still different, reflecting the vast differences in our biology and complexity. She elaborated on the concept of non-coding DNA, sometimes referred to as junk DNA, which makes up a significant portion of both human and banana genomes. While these regions do not code for proteins, they play crucial roles in regulating gene expression and maintaining genome stability. For instance, some non-coding DNA sequences are involved in controlling when and where genes are turned on or off. Dr. Harper showed a slide of the human genome, highlighting regions of non-coding DNA. She explained that understanding these regions is key to unlocking many of the mysteries of genetics and developing new medical and agricultural technologies. To make the concept more tangible, Dr. Harper shared a fascinating discovery from her research lab. Her team had identified a non-coding DNA sequence in bananas that, when studied, revealed insights into stress responses in plants. This discovery could lead to the development of more resilient crop varieties, capable of withstanding harsh environmental conditions. As the audience absorbed this information, Dr. Harper transitioned to a more interactive part of her lecture. She invited a few volunteers to the stage, handing them large, colorful models of DNA bases. Together, they constructed a model of a DNA strand, demonstrating the principles of base pairing and the double helix structure. The hands-on activity brought smiles to the participants' faces and helped solidify the concepts in the minds of the audience. Dr. Harper's engaging teaching style made the complex subject matter accessible and enjoyable. To conclude the chapter, Dr. Harper reflected on the broader significance of these genetic connections. Understanding the shared DNA between humans and bananas is not just a scientific curiosity. It's a profound reminder of the unity of life. It underscores the fact that we are all part of a larger web of existence, connected through our genetic heritage. She paused, allowing her words to resonate with the audience. By studying these connections, we can gain insights into our own biology, improve our agricultural practices, and develop new technologies to address global challenges. The blueprint of life is a testament to the ingenuity of evolution and the interconnectedness of all living beings. The room erupted in applause as Dr. Harper concluded her talk. The audience was left with a deep appreciation for the intricate and beautiful tapestry of life, woven together by the threads of DNA. Dr. Harper had not only educated but inspired them to look at the world with a renewed sense of wonder and curiosity. The evolutionary tree. Dr. Harper introduces the concept of the evolutionary tree, also known as the tree of life. She explains how genetic similarities and differences help scientists trace the evolutionary relationships between species. By comparing DNA sequences, scientists can construct phylogenetic trees that map out the evolutionary paths of different organisms. Through detailed analysis, Dr. Harper shows how humans and bananas, despite being vastly different in appearance and function, share a distant common ancestor. This ancestor, a simple unicellular organism, lived billions of years ago and gave rise to the diverse life forms we see today. The chapter delves into the principles of evolution, natural selection, and genetic drift, explaining how these processes have shaped the genomes of humans and bananas over time. The molecular machinery. This chapter focuses on the molecular machinery within cells that transcribe and translate genetic information. Dr. Harper explains the processes of DNA replication, transcription, and translation, drawing parallels between humans and bananas. She describes how similar enzymes and proteins are involved in these processes in both species, highlighting the conserved nature of these molecular mechanisms. Dr. Harper also discusses the role of non-coding DNA, sometimes referred to as junk DNA, which makes up a significant portion of both human and banana genomes. She explains that while these regions do not code for proteins, they play crucial roles in regulating gene expression and maintaining genome stability. The similarities in non-coding regions further emphasize the shared evolutionary history of humans and bananas. Implications and reflections. In the final chapter, Dr. Harper reflects on the broader implications of genetic similarities between humans and bananas. She discusses the ethical and philosophical questions that arise from our understanding of genetic connections. How does this knowledge influence our perception of life and our place in the natural world? What responsibilities do we have towards other living beings, given our shared genetic heritage? Dr. Harper also explores the practical applications of genetic research, such as advancements in medicine, agriculture, and conservation. By understanding the genetic basis of diseases, scientists can develop targeted therapies and treatments. In agriculture, knowledge of plant genomes, including bananas, can lead to the development of more resilient and productive crops. The chapter concludes with a message of unity and interconnectedness. Dr. Harper emphasizes that the shared genetic material among all living beings serves as a reminder of the common threads that bind us together. She calls for a greater appreciation of the diversity of life and a commitment to preserving the delicate balance of our planet's ecosystems.